by Kulak, published on the author's Substack, Anarchonomicon, read by an artificial intelligence based on the voice of Joshua Graham. I'm often asked, why do you pick on Christianity? This isn't helping. We need to work together. And my response is, when you looked up at them in middle school or high school in the midst of new atheism, and saw your priests were losers who were happy being losers and who wanted you to be a loser, you were right. If you did not have this experience, no problem. If you like your orthodox or dissident reverend or priest, you can keep your reverend. If you're one of the rare lucky ones who found a Latin Mass Catholic church, go for it. If you can find a free Presbyterian Church of Ulster and go paramilitary loyalist Protty, you're 1 in 100. Note, I don't actually know that these people are based, but it is plausible they might be. But for almost every member of the young right, they had the experience of seeing gay, weak, castrated, lesbian, or boomercon priests gladly sell out their heritage, their people, and their families, and try to coach young people to be willing to sell out their children in turn. And they are 100% right to want nothing to do with it. There are two Jesuses in America. There is the common Jesus we all know. Self-sacrifice, slave morality, ultra-leftist Jesus. The communist, Jewish Palestinian, proto-John Lennon, hippie pacifist friend of prostitutes, lepers, minorities, and losers, who instructed his followers to pay their taxes, not resist evil, go the extra mile for people who enslaved them, obey their masters, be the lamb, not the lion, turn the other cheek, and forgive those who'd kill and rape you and your children, even as they do it. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. A Jesus who is more opposed to health, nature, virtue, loyalty, truth, beauty, family, ethnicity, country, honor, and prosperity than any depiction of Satan in all of human literature. And this Jesus is believed in by hundreds of millions of Americans and billions of people. And then there is a mysterious other Jesus. Based Jesus. Right-wing Jesus. The alleged Jesus of the Crusaders and Conquistadors. The Jesus of Oliver Cromwell, the Bourbons, the Romanovs, and Kaiser Wilhelm. The Jesus of the cross-guard sword, who allegedly said and believed the exact opposite of everything the popular Jesus said. If only you'd learn Latin, Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. Dive through 100-year-old books of theology, and see through the lies of hundreds of years of mistranslation. And fewer than 50,000 Americans seem to believe in this Jesus. All of them are on Twitter. None of them can tell you a church to attend where people will agree with this Jesus. And yet many will insist, just go to a Catholic church, just got a Baptist church, just attend insert denomination. Ignoring the fact that 99 times out of 100, if you attended their denomination in your area, you'd find that they worship a Jesus who is indistinguishable from what Satan would be to base Jesus in that church as well. And somehow, they are more concerned that you are done with this Christianity thing than the fact that seemingly hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in their denomination, who are sold and willing to put in the work and attend church every Sunday. They are unconcerned that those innocent people are worshiping Satan in a parody mask of their double-secret, super-based right-wing Jesus. A based right-wing Jesus who was totally worshipped by all these based people who, no, weren't priests or religious leaders themselves, and never really wrote about their religious convictions. And we can't really access what Hernan Cortez's or Horatio Nelson's or Baldwin IV's personal theology was. But that is clearly the real Jesus. And none of them will acknowledge this dichotomy. That if who they say Jesus was is the real Jesus, then hundreds of millions of devout Christians are worshiping Satan in a crude mask of the man. And they certainly won't, and probably can't, point to any church in your region or even state that wouldn't be either avowedly evil or merely managing the decline into decay, death, and surrender to leftists. Maybe if you're in a dissident Mormon polygamist sect, ignore all the above. I'll accept that your group might not just be in a holding pattern waiting to be devoured by Jesus Lenin Globo Homo. You might have a religious insight out there in rural Utah where even all the other monogamous Mormons hate you. But I have never in all my travels seen evidence of this secret-based Jesus as a real religious force in the world. And I'm not sure I've met a single person in real life who actually believes in him, which is weird. You'd think the divine voice of God would be resoundingly powerful if there was only one voice willing to speak it. I don't know. Maybe they killed the only true followers of Christ at Waco in the years before I was born. But this is why I'm telling you, begging you. Unless you have access to a weird, exceptional sect like dissident polygamist Mormons, don't just go back and accept the authority of the people you saw through as losers in the 8th grade. And certainly don't accept that these people who've managed the loss and surrender of Western civilization for almost 100 years, are somehow authorities over the young dissident right, who've achieved vastly more against Globo Homo in 10 years than they achieved in the entire 20th century of poisoning European empires and midwifing a communism that only failed to conquer the world because it self-aborted in spite of every U.S. and Christian effort to fund and enable it. Look up all the economic and arms funding to the Soviet Union and Mao's China. Defeating communism was not a Christian conservative victory. It was because of them and their tolerance it existed at all. Read the book, National Suicide, Military Aid to the Soviet Union. This is the real appeal neo-paganism, or Hellenism, or Wotan, or the cult of Kek, or Russian Orthodoxy, or Neo-Shintoism. That you don't have to accept the cultural and institutional authority of the people who've systemically surrendered and betrayed your birthright, and tried to coach you to be someone who'd betray your children in turn. And if based Christians manage to get it together, and form institutions, and present a vision that isn't just Globo Homo, white surrender praising the good intentions of communists, welcoming refugees and sending all your money to Africa at a slower pace, then they can try to coalition with the post-Christian right, or convert us. But I'm not going to try to build my life on sand. You might insist this is a good foundation. You might want to build your life on it, but I don't see it. And I'd sooner dig down to the bedrock of my ancestral racial religion and try to rediscover Wotan or the Hellenic gods than risk it on this collapsed edifice.